Good morning. All right. Friday the 19th. And we just missed Friday the 13th last week. It was that close. Just a day off. Okay, very good. Well, we are just a minute after. We'll wait a couple more minutes. I know Anand and Subham are joining. And Nuno is on the train, and so he
almost there. I'm waiting for it, but I will be in the train just in a few minutes. Hi, Ali.
Hey, good morning. Hey, happy Friday.
Thanks, Sam.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna post a link to the meeting minutes in the chat. If you're not on mobile like Nuno, then you can go ahead and record your name in the meeting minutes. Good morning, Sako.
Good morning, Lee. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. There's Chaim. Chaim, are you Pacific Coast today? Or?
It's me?
Are you on Pacific time today?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
8 a.m.
Okay. bright and sunny and smiley.
Definitely.
All right. I'm going to share the meeting minutes and start to do a little bit of tidying up while we have some others join. So we've got Anand joining. So that's a good deal. Good.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Hey. Happy Friday.
Yeah?
Yeah. Very good. Well, so guys, if you can, for those of you who are not on mobile, jump into the meeting minutes and slap your name into the attendees box. I'm teeing up a couple of general updates. Okay, we're 4 after, so one more minute and then we'll jump in. So we've got, meshery-CTL, we've got to talk about that. That's right. Saka, we've got I say we, I mean like the royal we of like sort of me needs to go and help get that swapped out. Swapping meshery with meshery-CTL.
Oh, sure.
I do have some updates on the continuous integration though, because I think part of our challenge, well, we'll talk about it in a minute. But
sure.
meshery-CTL. And by the way, guys, to the extent that you're inside the meeting minutes, feel free to take meeting minutes as we go. Otherwise, you guys have to try to listen to me speak and type at the same time, and that's, I'm sure, torturous. Okay. With that, let's go back. All right, good deal. We are 5 after, so great. Chaim, Anand, Nuno, Madhav, welcome. And we were just chatting. It's good to see you on the call. That's about, I gotta say, I think you broke the record for having been introduced to the community and then jumping on the community call. So good to have you.
Hi, Ali.
Hey.
Welcome.
Do you want to introduce yourself to the other folks?
Hello, my name is Madhav Paul. I am a freelance web developer and I work for some of my clients and some like stuff like HTML, CSS, Bootstrap. They give me quite nice references also. That's it.
Yeah, very good. And
Right.
Madhab was just saying he's attending. He's in his final year at the same UEM in Jaipur, the same university that Subham and Anand attend. So I have to say, when you guys are back at university, the quality of your bandwidth is awesome because we can hear you really well and get to see you guys on video, so it's good.
Yeah, actually, you're right.
Yeah. Okay, and then did we miss anyone? So we've got okay, very good. And then Madhab, as you hang out and as we kind of go through the various things that everyone's working on, I think you'll get to know them a bit better. But don't be shy in Slack with them. So let's jump into the meeting minutes. It's got a couple of things to go over briefly. So I'm gonna try to be brief through some of the general things. In part because our star today, Chaim, has got some things to share. So. Everyone's drooling to see what he's got. So we're going to welcome folks like Madhab. We also, Nuno had, whose name I misspelled, we went over some of his work previously, and it sounds like Nuno, you and I should probably have a short session on Jekyll and Git and just kind of get you comfortable and feeling at ease with, with how the system works, so that you can be in more control there. Sort of as you go, you might be able to update your draft, so to speak.
Yeah, that will be perfect for me.
Nice.
So I updated it, and the moment I enter the train right now, I will normally be able to PR it with the Git commands that you sent up.
Wow.
So yeah, sorry, it might be a lot noisy right now. So I will be on mute for the rest of until you ask something, and but I will be connected now. Okay.
Beautiful. Okay. After you go on mute and you've got some time to think about it. Almost any time is convenient for me to do kind of a one-on-one with you. So if that's over the weekend, but let's do it whenever's convenient for you to.
Yeah, so for me it will be like this time, but maybe like next Monday or Tuesday, if you're available.
Okay, very good. Tuesday, 5 CEST. All right, and then just last week we talked about the fact. Well, actually, Chaim, I'm not representing your. How could I forget? So last week we noted that the KubeCon North America talk proposals. The deadline was last Friday. Chaim put together a proposal around securing service meshes, and so we'll keep our fingers crossed there. Sako put one together as well, and I tossed in another one. And so I don't think Harshini is going to make it today, but I had tossed in one on her behalf. And so we'll see. So between everyone crossing at least one finger, I suspect one of those talks will get accepted. Nice.
At least one.
Yeah. So since I mentioned Harshini, and I don't think she's going to be on the call to represent her work, near as I can remember, I will say that her and I spent a fair bit of time over the last couple of days working on the alpha version of the NSM adapter. She had implemented a process by which the NSM, and by the way, NSM, if you're not familiar, it stands for Network Service Mesh. And you can check it out a bit more. It's networkservicemesh.io. It's a relatively new CNCF sandbox project. She is formerly an intern of Lumina Networks, now a full-time employee at Lumina. Lumina is the same company that Prem Sankar who was on a couple of weeks ago and who introduced all of us to a few other Linux Foundation projects, which were pretty interesting. Harshini works with Prem, and so I think it's because of his support that she's spending time here. So anyway, the two of us worked through the initial functionality, which you can see in an alpha branch on the meshery-NSM adapter repo. Cloning of the Git repository for network service mesh, and generally being deployed as an adapter. So you can go check out her branch and deploy the alpha adapter. But it's a work in progress. I guess that's kind of the update. We also ended up merging a PR for the NSM logo to be shown in the Meshery UI, which reminds me that Chaim, as we begin to talk about the Octarine adapter, I think there's a couple of updates that we'll want to do inside of Meshery proper, if you will. One of those being with respect to an Octarine. I believe I've got an Octarine SVG, an Octarine logo SVG. But anyway, so let's switch maybe topics from NSM adapter. So thank you, Harshini, for the work there. Over to a discussion with Chaim. Chaim, do you, I guess maybe just to have it recorded on this call, do we have permission to use the Octarine logo inside of the Meshery UI?
Yes.
Okay, all right, very good. And so we just got done doing this for NSM, so you may see either a quick PR from me or something for you to review, or so we can get that in, so that when people add when they connect to the Octarine adapter, they then see the Octarine logo. And so I'm going to stop sharing because Chaim, you've been a long-standing community member. You've been the first to contribute a community-created adapter. So this is awesome. And your adapter is unique from all others to date in that, well, actually, maybe Chaim, I'll let you explain kind of how you're running a managed control plane and kind of how the adapter works. So let you take the community through it.
So those of you who don't know Octarine, we're creating a security solution for Kubernetes that's leveraging the service mesh architecture and specifically Envoy. And in most cases, we use a managed control plane rather than a control plane that's deployed inside the target cluster. So what I've done with the adapter is that whenever somebody would like to instrument the target cluster, the adapter will automatically create an account in the Octarine managed control plane, and then we'll use that account to deploy to get the right YAMLs to deploy on the target control plane. So let's, I think the best way would be to demo it. So by the way, so I'm going to demo the adapter standalone without Meshery at this point, because we haven't really done the work of actually integrating the adapter into Meshery, but it works very, very similarly to the ECO adapter, so it's the same RPCs. So the work of adding the 10,004 port adapter to the others is pretty trivial. Okay.
Nice, very good. Yeah.
And let's see, works. Okay,
Oh, nice.
So, can you see my console?
Yeah, I can.
Great. So I am running meshery-octarine, which is the adapter. Running with the debug side so we can see everything it's doing. And the next thing I did was to write a client so I can send the gRPC commands to the adapter again without the need to integrate it with meshery first. So the first thing, the first RPC command, the first RPC command that we want to send to the adapter is the init command, the init RPC, which provides the kubeconfig file and the context that we want to deploy the Octarine data plane for. So in this case, we have the config file and the context Docker config, which is Docker desktop, which is the cluster that runs on the laptop.
Sorry, can you make a bit bigger screen?
Try to make the font bigger.
Yeah, font me.
Yes. Let's see.
Zoom terminal maybe? Or
I don't know.
yeah, there was Zoom terminal.
I don't think that actually does anything.
Okay, sure. Never mind.
I'll make it bigger. Just,
While we're increasing the font size, I'll say Harshini has joined. So, Harshini, your ears were burning earlier. We were talking all about you. So, but Chaim is demoing taking us through the Octarine adapter now. So, very relevant to the work that you've been doing.
So, can you see it better now?
Yeah, thank you.
So init, again, Docker desktop is the cluster that's running on my desktop. And so far all we did was initialize the client in the adapter. So if we go back to the adapter, see it got the right context name. And if we go to the target cluster, we can see it has two namespaces that we're going to use, the Octarine data plane and book info. Obviously, currently book info is empty and Octarine data plane is empty as well. Okay, so the next command would be install, and you don't need to provide anything because we're already initialized our client. And again, if we go and look at what the adapter is doing, go up, it is created an account, and this is the name of the account, which we'll use soon. It created a domain in the account called meshery domain. It's just a name that represents a cluster. And it actually created the YAMLs for the data plane, and then it applied the YAML into our cluster. So what do we have so far? If we look at the data plane, now we have our services running. It's sidecar injector, an ID controller, which we use for identity bootstrapping, and an IDS daemon set. So far, we have not deployed the service mesh itself because we haven't any application. We did not deploy any application, which is the next step. And the other thing is now we actually have an account in Octarine. So if we go to the Octarine shared, it's a shared control plane, so everyone can access that dashboard. Now we have an account to use. and the username is meshery, and the password is the password that we provided in a environment variable, but it's controllable by whoever deploys the adapter. And now we can log in, and obviously this is the Octarine dashboard, but at this point we don't see much because we did not deploy any application. The only thing we will see is we'll see that domain that we've created, meshery domain. So far it has no active artifacts. So then we go to the next phase, which is to deploy book info. And again, this is very similar to what the Istio adapter does. And we tell it to install book info in the book info namespace, but it could be deployed in any namespace. And again, if we go back to the adapter, we can see that it is deploying reviews and details and product page in the namespace, in the book info namespace. It also labeled the namespace to be instrumented by Octarine. So now again, if we go and look at book info, we see we have all the pods running. We can see they have 2 containers per pod because now they're also running the Octarine sidecar. If we look at the service, we see their product page is an external service exposed through port 32311 in this case. So let's go and back to port 32311 and look at product page. And for those of you who are not familiar, this is the book info page. It's connecting to the detail service, to the reviews service, and the reviews service accesses the rating service to get those stars. And there are multiple versions of review service. So as you refresh the page, every once in a while it switches the rating service or the review service that it communicates with, and then sometimes you will see black stars, and sometimes there would be no stars, and sometimes there would be red stars. And this is, I guess, an important difference between the Octarine the Octarine service mesh and, for example, Istio. So unlike Istio, Octarine does not do layer 7 load balancing. So it is completely based on the load balancing that's done by Kubernetes itself. So there is no guarantee that you will get an even distribution of the red stars, black stars, and no stars.
And Chaim, is that behavior an artifact of not having what Istio would refer to as like an ingress gateway? Instead, the ingress here being a Kubernetes ingress.
So the issue is not the gateway, but the connectivity actually between product page and the reviews services. So the reviews service actually. So the way Kubernetes work is that it just sends the message to the service IP, the product, in this case, the reviews service IP. And then Kubernetes, using IP tables, handles load balancing. That's the Kubernetes behavior. And Istio specifically sends Envoy the endpoints of all the endpoints behind the review service. And Evo is actually, so it's not the lack of an ingress gateway, it's actually the lack of pilot.
Yep, makes I hear you. Makes sense, and
So-
yeah, it makes natural sense given the Octarine's heavy product focus on security-centric use cases, and moving well past Istio's capabilities in that regard, and so.
Right, and it's important to know that again, not really relevant to this demo, but that we work with Istio as well. So it's a little different model because we're not deploying the data plane or most of the components of the data plane, specifically Envoy, but we provide kind of the same kind of features that we'll demonstrate right now. So this is the dashboard that we've deployed, and now we can see product page, and we can see that it's talking to the reviews service, which is communicating with the rating service, and it's also talking to the details service, and we can specifically look and actually see that we have the client is calling this product page, and another endpoint in product page, and then product page is actually calling /reviews in the review service and /details in the detail service, and then obviously we can reverse and see that reviews is calling ratings. Another thing that Octarine provides is really access control, and we can, let's say, decide that we want currently everything is a. We can decide that we want the detailed to block all unauthorized traffic, which means currently all traffic because we do not authorize. And now if we go to the 30 seconds for this update in the control plane to be propagated to the data plane. But once it is propagated, as we can see, we no longer get the details.
Very good. Distributed systems and latency, I guess. Well, Chaim, this begs the question. So just with respect to the meshery-octarine adapter, part of its, if I recollect correctly, centric to its architecture is the use of octa-CTL as a as a mechanism for interaction between meshery and octarine, and part and parcel to that. So as you just demonstrated, part of Octarine's capabilities around the ability to block specific traffic between services and things, that inherent, is that same ability to configure Octarine inherent to the design of the meshery-octarine adapter, in so much as sending YAML Octarine's way? Or
not so. So once the main goal of the adapter is really to facilitate deployment. Once we have the deployment running and there is access to the UI and the account, you can either use the octa-CTL directly, or you can use the UI to configure Octarine. So really, the adapter brings you to the point where you have full control of your account and your data plane, and then you can play with policies and threat detection and all the other features that Octarine provides.
Nice. Okay.
By the way, is bundled in the container that runs the adapter. So that's what allows the adapter to communicate. By the way, since we did now block a message, we have that indication in the dashboard we get an alert, which we can use to create a rule that says we actually want product page to be able to talk to details. And once we create this rule, again, it may take up to 30 seconds, but if we go back to our
The community meeting.
it
Yeah, the meshery community meeting.
will
No.
at some point get its details back.
I haven't
Um,
Okay,
any questions? This is pretty much of course cleaning up. The adapter supports the ability to delete book info and then to delete the data plane, to clean up the data plane and delete the account in the control.
Nice. Two questions for me.
Questions?
Yeah, very good. One of them is with respect to the performance testing of, in this case, book info. That just works, right? Once you've gotten the book info endpoint exposed, in this case, through Kubernetes on Docker desktop, you just point meshery at the book info endpoint. It generates load, retrieves this, and so it kind of works in the same fashion. It's very good. The second question is, is with respect to the, certainly each of the adapters will carry their own documentation, and part of that will be any configuration specific to the adapter. For this managed control plane connection, you talked a little bit about the public sandbox, if you will, the public octarine sandbox, and then the username and kind of environment variables. Is there more to say there in terms of?
So if we go, let's go to the GitHub. And I'll go to my branch for now, the GitHub branch. There is I think, pending PR for this. But I did add some documentation, first of all, of what the adapter actually does, and what in each step, or in each operation, which steps it's taking, but also documentation of the environment variables that need to be set in order for everything to work. Some of them, like the Docker credentials and the creator and the leader password and the control plane address, I will provide, and others are configurable by the user. Things like the domain and the account manager password are specific to each specific account. To your question, I will provide the values for these environment variables to be used publicly.
Oh, very good, very good. Okay, that makes sense. Two things that I'm behind on. One, that we've already got adapter-specific documentation up, and I hadn't seen it before. And then two, that reminds me about your outstanding PR. I had looked at it, and now I don't remember if I have like draft comments that haven't been posted or what. But that's on my to-do list. This is great.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. The UI was running locally, or?
No, so the UI is running on this is a public
It's like SaaS?
SaaS server, Kubernetes cluster actually. You access the demo 0.12.0 octarinesec.com/UI, and then that will get you to the login page. Then you provide the account that the adapter created, and the username would be meshery, and the password would be whatever password you provided in that environment variable. And then you can see this specifically if you connect now and you use this account that we can see on top here, meshery-ATZXW3, and the username is meshery and the password is password. You will see the same thing that I see.
So mainly the Istio is the sidecar proxy envoy keeps the same, and then in the control plane.
Envoy, the envoy that we're using is in this case is almost identical to the envoy Istio is using, and just the regular envoy. Mm-hmm. It just has one additional filter that we've created that enhances envoy to send the telemetry and receive policy from the Octarine control plane.
Okay, but the Istio components, the control plane is kept the same, or?
No, we don't. So we don't. Again, we have two ways of working. If you want to use Istio, mm-hmm. which is not what the adapter does. The adapter deploys Octarine where there is no Istio. So it does not deploy Pilot or Mixer or Citadel. Mm-hmm. The envoy works directly with the Octarine control plane. Octarine, regardless, has a way of working with Istio by adding an adapter to Mixer, but this is currently not covered by the meshery-octarine adapter.
Okay, but then the changes for the proxies for envoys is done by not the pilot, by Octarine?
Yes. There is no pilot here. Yes, the configuration of envoy is done by Octarine and not by pilot.
Okay.
This again in the example that we've shown now, not in the. There is another not covered by the Octarine adapter way of working with pilot and the entire Istio control plane.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
What we've seen is that for many organizations, adopting Istio is not easy, to say the least. Mm-hmm. And Octarine provides kind of an easier on-ramp to using a service mesh, because we're a lot less opinionated than Istio. We don't require you to rename your ports and create service entries for all your external traffic and deploy an ingress gateway. And so you can keep working the same way you worked before, only get visibility and access control and threat detection.
So yeah, because let's say in normal case we'll use Nginx ingress. That means like can we still keep the same until be kind of abstracted if we bring?
Yeah. We have and Lee is aware of that. We have deployments where Nginx ingress is being used, and Octarine just wraps the Nginx with Envoy to get the telemetry and to provide the visibility, and there's no problem continuing to work exactly the same way we worked before.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
Oh man, Chaim, this is I don't know. I'm not sure if it's our best demo yet, but it's it's a contender. I don't know. This is fantastic. certainly our prettiest demo yet, that's for sure. This is also certainly in time for the upcoming KubeCon, right? Like, we were all collectively cutting it so close the last couple of KubeCons. Anyway, we'll have this well in hand, for discussions there. Yeah, I'll resonate that, part of the genesis of the meshery project itself is predicated upon the same experience that that we had with people in the community about deploying Istio. And that project is working on making itself easier to get up and running with. But it's just engulfed a lot of capabilities early on, and the refinement of the user experience there is going to take a while. So yeah, clearly I can see how, or not I can see, I mean, I've experienced how Octarine overcomes that. And probably, to the extent that it's less opinionated, fits into environments, outside of the deployment being easier, but just also is more flexible to insert into existing environments. Interestingly, there's some parallels to be drawn between the remote sidecar injector that Octarine has, like in the case of customers signing up for the managed control plane. There's, clearly lots of similarities between similarities and integration between Istio, but similarities in terms of how Istio works in a like cross-cluster or multi-cluster environment, kind of remote sidecar injectors and the like. So that's all kind of neat. They're, in terms of the communication between the managed control plane and the IDS daemon set, the sidecar injector, where's that? Who is talking to who? In that case, from managed control.
It's always the services in the target cluster. They always initiate communication to the control plane. Otherwise, it wouldn't work in terms of routing. So the control plane is always available. So all the services that run in the target cluster, including the IDS and the ID bootstrapping service and the sidecar injector, they all communicate with they all generate connections to the control.
Got it. Awesome.
But that doesn't mean, obviously, that it can push infra changes through those connections, kind of similar to how Envoy communicate with Pilot.
Makes sense. Yeah, there's a bit of a challenge that Istio is facing in that regard with respect to the use of gRPC, the Envoy, XDS APIs, and how those sidecars will connect over gRPC, and then eventually Pilot trying to load balance across, all those hundreds or more sidecars. It can make, I think it's something that the project is having to work through a bit.
So again, since not having a full-blown discovery service, then there's a lot less things to send over the connection. So we don't have the scalability yet. Scalability issues that Pilot has when pushing configuration changes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, very good. Very good. Chaim, I've got promises on public recording about getting that PR, the open PR reviewed and knocked out. So this is good. Okay, anyone else have any other questions for Chaim? Okay, good deal. Good deal. I know Harshini has come on the call, so that's great. Pavan is or was here as well. With Madhab having joined today, so part of, if you guys had heard him introduce himself before, he had said he's somewhat front end focused and just in time, because we were talking about the need to create a separate standing project site. And so there's a domain meshery.dev that we intend to use for that. Right now it's just redirecting to layer5io/meshery. So to recap, I think what we'd said last week was the Layer5io meshery page will remain, but we'd like to have a memorable and easily referenceable project site. And so Madhab and others that are interested will be talking about those plans very shortly. And then, so maybe another topic here was that, so Sako, you've wrapped up, I think, all of the functionality that we were looking for in this, in the MVP, if you will, for meshery-CTL, in order for it to displace the bash script meshery. I have, since we last worked together on it, I ended up compiling the meshery-CTL, using it to perform a number of operations. I think we are at a point by which we're ready to switch that out, which is great because I'd noted that the book Istio up and running, it's going to highlight meshery in a couple of ways, which Chaim will be good indirectly for Octarine and for all of the adapters. But in that book, it highlights the use of meshery-CTL, not meshery the bash script. So we do have some. Yeah.
So you did some edge case testing. It all looked good to you.
It did.
Okay.
There's I think the only thing left here to swap this out is the initial instructions, the meshery getting started instructions that are out there. If we bring those up real fast, most everyone is familiar with those, but not all. So I'm going to bring up the meshery page. If you go to run meshery, you'll get brought down to these quick install and start instructions. What you'll find is that we're downloading this script here. Let me share it. This is the bash script, and so I think the way through this is really for us to Sako probably to just update this script, not to be to in fact go out and download the latest release of meshery-CTL. That's probably our next step here.
Sure. Okay. And then run just meshery-CTL. That's in getting started. That's only place it's used in the document.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know that we described the command line utility anywhere else today. By the way, both for Chaim and for Harshini, I think each of you, or I know Harshini is familiar with the current set of documentation for meshery. The docs site, the docs pages are inside of the meshery project itself under the, I'll just go there, under the docs folder. But I'm mentioning it because, yeah, now that we've got, Chaim having the adapter configuration information within the adapter repository is perfect. And then to the extent that we can replicate that into here, this meshery docs, this is just a simple static site that has where we can add color to the markdown, essentially. So, Okay, yeah, good. So Sako, I think hopefully that sets us on to our next challenge there, which is really, I think it's an update to this bash script. Okay. There's a couple of things. So I'm kind of skipping around a bit now just because we only have a few minutes left. I know there's some conversations that I need to have one-on-one with a few of you, and that's great. I'll mention to the group that another thing that we'd done this last week was a bit of work on our CI, our continuous integration across each of the meshery repos. I believe, and some of the repos had never been built or didn't have automated builds. And so we're, I think today, so first of all, let me pull up a document that we've shared in prior meetings. And anyone who would like to review and comment, please do. The document is on the build and release strategy for meshery. And it highlights where repositories and images are currently being built, where they're being pushed. So this document is inside of the community drive. Its status is under review, so no comments yet, but please go in and comment. It outlines where the repos are, how they're being built, what we would like to try to do in the future. Part of what Chaim has just shown, there are some questions to be addressed, not necessarily specific to the Octarine adapter, but to adapters in general, and that's how it is that as Octarine, as a product, advances and OctaCTL advances, and we go to maintain compatibility, the community maintains compatibility with those advancements by updating the Octarine adapter. It is sort of this question of, okay, do each of the adapters get versioned onto their own? Obviously, whatever version they're at, you're going to, just as a project, you're going to want to be able to say, yes, you're running meshery.5. And while individual adapters may be at various stages, you're going to want to have them all working at that same level. And so anyways, there's some work to be done about that process and how that works. And so I'll put a link to this document. I think to my, I'm saying, hey, anyone who's got a mind for this. So Subham, this may or may not fall into your area of interest, but we need to improve upon this, because I think when Sako had landed the meshery-CTL, it was immediately obvious that meshery-CTL as an independent binary wasn't being compiled. And that was still a manual development process. And so. Okay. So very good. So we're at the top of the hour. Just have a few minutes left. I'm going to stop talking so that others that have things that they wanted to bring up in today's call that you can. So is Pavan still with us? I think he had to drop off. So, very good. Okay. Chaim, so I'd mentioned that I need to go review the PR, help get the Octarine logo into meshery itself, help provide some feedback on the functionality of the adapter, etc. Do other things that you need from the community, from me, that would help?
So the next step, I guess, would be to integrate the adapter with meshery itself, kind of, so it will be a streamlined process to deploy the adapter and connect to it. So
Yeah.
we need to see if that works.
Nice. Random, well, not entirely random, but question there. So yesterday, Harshini and I were working on the NSM adapter. She was using port 10,005, and we bumped it down to 10,004 because I think there was a space between the octarine adapter. You're using 10,003, right? As the
I think 4.
Oh, you're using 4. Okay, yeah. So, all right. So we need to go back and.
I think you actually assigned us.
Yeah. No, I did, and I assigned her 10,005 as well. Why am I getting this off? So it was 10,000 is, I thought was Istio, 10,001 linker D, 10,002 console, 10,000. This is why I thought 10,003 was octarine. I gotta go. Okay, so I gotta go back and fix it on my end.
But do you need credentials, Chaim, for make it run?
Yes, so I'll post current credentials on the Slack channel.
Thank you.
So if I go into our current meshery YAML.
But integration is over the REST, can it be, or with meshery, what's?
The integration is gRPC, with same as the Istio adapter.
Nice. So Chaim, whether you ask for it or not, you're going to be getting some feedback. Sounds like.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. This is great. It's been a great call. Anand and Marab, Subham, we've got some items to follow up on. Same thing, Nuno and Sako. I think I owe some time to each of you guys. But other than that, Chaim, thanks so much. We're going to get the meeting minutes, the recording up and posted. We're going to go social.
Awesome.
Thank you, Chaim. Good work.
Thank you.
Oh, very good. All right. Thanks, guys. Everybody have a great rest of the Friday.
You too.
Thanks. Good weekend to everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Yeah, right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.